Hi everyone, so this is a Commencal Meta Power 29 signature. That means it's the top of the range e-bike with a 29 e-bike from Commencal, and we've been testing it, and this is our review. Bike. So it's an aluminium frame bike with a Shimano motor and a 500 watt-hour battery. We're looking at a high-end suspension and high-end wheel set, plus high-quality brakes and other components. I mean, we've got a Fox transfer seat post, which is absolutely fantastic, or X2 shock, and the 36 factory fork on the front, which is e-bike ready. Shimano Dior XT brakes, which work pretty well. There's dual pistons on the front. They've got some big discs there. However, they're very tech, they feel tech, but they're not as powerful as I would like. It comes with DT Swiss hybrid wheels, which means they're e-bike designed for e-bikes, and they ride really smooth. Let's look at the price. This bike retails for around 6,400 euros. That's incredibly cheap for what you've got here. In fact, when you look at the competition, you'll find that some of their bikes for the same price come with low-end components. What we've actually got here is one of the best value high-end e-bikes on the market. So yeah. So how does it ride? Well, let's find out. So the geometry of this bike, it feels very open at the front. It's a fair amount of reach, and it's enough for aggressive descending, and that's where I think this bike really is pretty interesting. I have to say, this bike is fast. Okay, it's incredibly fast. The 29er wheels give an extreme amount of stability, and when you match that in with the Fox suspension, which is incredibly plush and very easy to set up, so you can find your perfect tune pretty easily, where it works well between the front and the back, and you have a good balance, because often you find some suspension forks probably work pretty well, but the shock on the back doesn't balance, so you find your bike hard to sort of set the front back bias. Now I prefer to have a suspension system set up where they kind of function together. I don't have the bike tilted too far back or too far forward with the sag settings. With the X2 shock on the back, it's pretty hard not to find your ideal setting, to be honest. It's got an easy lockout here, and you can set the high speed, low speed compression and the damping as well, so you can set how fast that shock will return. On steep rocky descents, this bike flies. It's absolutely 100% lit. At the same time, it feels really manageable. Now this is an interesting concept, because a lot of bikes I've tried recently, they're very big and burly and great for high speed descents where, you know, the limit is not the bike, it's the rider. In this case, it's got that feeling of high speed fluidity, but at the same time it is manageable. You don't feel like you've got a big beast of a bike, although it is a big bike. You kind of can tell where this bike has been developed, because I mean, Andorra's famous for its rocky long trails, and also, you know, it's got some bike park stuff there. So definitely this bike has been made where it is a place to experience extreme riding. Right, because it's quite good on the descents, the ascents, generally speaking, tend to be the weaker point of bikes that go downhill very fast. This bike isn't too bad actually on the climbs. The rear chainstay length is it's long enough that gives you the stability so the front doesn't lift, and when used in combination with a Shimano motor, which honestly this Shimano motor is very, very smooth. It's not the most powerful motor on the market now, we know that, because the new versions from Bosch have come out, but fundamentally it's a smooth, fast motor, so in the sense of that it's very natural, it blends into the bike. The motor is part of the bike, it's not all about the motor. The whole market as a whole, it's important to look out for bikes which stand out. But for a Shimano-based 29er aggressive e-bike, this is pretty much one of the best on the market. Only limitations say it's got a 500 watt-hour battery. That's not the biggest range maybe available at the moment, but Shimano are coming out now with a 600 watt-hour battery, so that will obviously bump the long distance out of that. Easy to set up, smooth operator, rides fast, jumps big, corners amazingly. I love the Fox suspension. If you've got 6000, I would suggest, and you want a 29 at Ebike, I would suggest taking a very serious look at this bike, especially when you're comparing specifications to other bikes that are on the market. You will not be disappointed if you decide to take the plunge and go for a Commencal.